Hey guys, I'm Viper and welcome to a brand new video. Now, as I'm sure you'll guess by the title by now, today I'm going to be talking about E3, more in particular Xbox. So what Microsoft's literally been talking about in the press conference. Now this is a first, I don't usually discuss E3 stuff, but on this occasion I just thought that, I don't see why not, and also just talk about a few games that caught my eye. Now Xbox obviously put on a fantastic show each year, as do Sony. I won't miscount them, and as to the other as to other companies that come, so Bethesda, Ubisoft, and so on. But with Xbox this year, they decided to take a bit of a different twist. Now, obviously, 2 years ago when they released the Xbox One, well, 3 years ago actually when they released the Xbox One, they were focusing on entertainment and things like that. Same thing the year after. Now, this year they've obviously been focusing on games. Past 2 years they've done this, to be fair. But here's a couple of games that caught my eye at the Xbox conference that that was held at E3. First things first, they kicked off with Gears of War 4. So the modernised shooter, which was released, I think it was about 8 years ago. That was Gears of War on the original Xbox 360. Yeah, they've obviously stepped up the notch, and they obviously kicked it off with Gears of War 4, and obviously it provided a very good spectacle. The game did look quite good from what I saw, but unfortunately, I'll go ahead and say this, I'm not a Gears of War fan in any way, so it didn't really interest me too much, but nevertheless, credit to credit to Microsoft for obviously showing it off and kicking it off, because it did look very cinematic. I think the Gears of War games are like that anyway. But yeah, nevertheless, we saw for the very first time the brand new Forza Horizon 3. Now, obviously, the past two games have been fantastic, and this one looks like it's on par, if not better, than the previous two. Now, this is one of the major games I'm going to be talking about today, in my eyes anyway. Like I said, there was quite a few games that caught my eye, but there was only 2 or 3 that mainly caught my eye. But like I said, Forza Horizon 3 was definitely the first one that caught my eye. Things to say that they mentioned was that the game is actually set in Australia. There's a 4-player co-op mode, so instead of it being like a road trip, you'd actually have to do missions and things, so you'd actually have to it'd be like The Crew but in the Forza universe. That's the hope anyway. It's got the biggest rotor of cars in the Horizon series so far, and the visuals themselves are a major step up to Forza Horizon 2. The jungle environments that the cars went through in the demo that was shown at E3 was fantastic, so props off to Playground Games for that. And also, I didn't think they could go any further with Forza Horizon after the fact that it doesn't really feel like a Horizon game more than... It feels more like a paradise, as it is. Mainly because of the fact that you've got like jungles in there, you've got obviously modernised roads and so on. There's quite a few things to list about the game, but those are a few of the main bits that caught my eye. Next thing to mention, which was a pirate game that caught my eye, I originally thought it was that Sid Meier's Civilization 6, which I believe is supposed to be coming out. Not that I'm interested in it, but you get my drift. It's called Sea of Thieves. Now, it's like a pirate game, a bit like Pirates of the Caribbean. And that Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I think that was Assassin's Creed 4, was it? Black Flag? Yeah. Anyway, my point being was that this Sea of Thieves, they had a group, they showed a group of people playing the game and working together, but obviously there was 3 groups of people, and each group had like their own different things. So one of them was doing the mast up on the ship. Another group was just sat watching each other drinking rum, which was quite hilarious. And then the other guys were like, right, okay, we'll go on a bit of a gander around an island. Eventually they all met up and started bombing the crap out of each other with the cannons, which was really funny. With it ended with a spectacular climax where the 2 ships near enough T-boned each other, which was obviously before then they cut to the Sea of Thieves bit. But it was still quite good to see, so probably on my games list for this year. There's no doubt about that. Moving on to the next one. Now this is the big one. Now we've heard about COD, we know about Battlefield and so on and so on, but Battlefield 1 really just takes the biscuit, really. It just goes to prove it that they've showed whilst they were here, and this is probably something to mention, that whilst they're at E3, obviously they've already showed off the Battlefield game, obviously online, the trailers and everything, but we've actually got to see a proper good look at it. Not gameplay, which I was a bit disappointed at, but they did show things like the vehicles, the weapons that you can use, and so on. So quite decent. But like I said, it's set in World War One, so obviously the utilities like these tanks, these planes, these old-fashioned motorbikes that you can shoot off. It looks really good. Definitely one that I'll be getting this year or whenever. I think it releases in October or November, I believe. I think actually it released in October. I think EA Access members get it a week early, if I remember correctly. But yeah, moving on to the next game. I apologise that I'm moving on quite quickly. I just want to I've got quite a few games to talk about, so try to get them done as quickly as possible. Next game to mention is Hero Wars 2. Now, obviously, Halo is quite the popular series with Xbox. We all know this, and obviously, it's supposedly to go up against things like Call of Duty and Battlefield and so on. But really, I see Halo as something that doesn't really speak for a lot of people. Like, Halo is a fantastic game series for Xbox. There's no doubt about that. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't have the same sort of realistic approach that things like Call of Duty, which is kind of going off a little bit, and Battlefield as well. But they still look great. That's it. That's all I can say about the game. The game looked a bit like Gears of War. I got slightly confused whether it was Gears of War or Halo Wars. But then once I saw like Banshees and things like, when I can't remember the quad things. You guys will probably correct me. I can't remember what they're called. There's Banshees, which are flying things, and something else. The quad things, but yeah, there were quite a few of those, and it was like it felt like Gears of War because they were like alien things fighting against like titans and army and everything, which was really cool. So that was great to see. And then the next exclusive that was shown, which I don't think is an exclusive now because I believe it was released. It's released on all platforms, so Xbox One, PS4 and PC, and that is Dead Rising 4. And the game itself is going to be hitting Christmas, I think. So it said the holiday this holiday 2016. So probably November, December time. And the game is Christmas based, I think, because there was a lot of Christmas music and a lot of killing zombies and everything, and surprisingly as it sounds, the character, Frank West, from Dead Rising 1, is back, and he looks a lot better than he did in Dead Rising 2. Believe me, he looks a lot better. So yeah, there's a lot of killing sprees going on in that game, and a lot of you guys, I'm sure, are looking forward to playing it when it comes out in Christmas this year. Next game to mention, State of Decay 2, a survival horror game that was released, the original State of Decay, was released back on Xbox 360, maybe 6 or 7 years back. And since then, it's been a triumph for Xbox and, the developer that's behind it. And for damn sure, I wasn't sure at first, because at the start of the trailer, there's like a muscle car, and it looks just like Mafia, as in like Mafia 3, but apparently it wasn't, and I started to grasp it. I thought, hang on a minute, there's only one game that has that logo, and I don't mind State of Decay. It's a pretty good horror game. I won't get into it, but the new one does look really, really decent. I might have put some footage or images on screen now, I don't know, we'll have to see. But moving on from that, so State of Decay 2, fantastic looking game. I think that comes out in 2017, so early 2017. Another game that comes out in early 2017, one that I could not wait for years, was Tekken 7. Yep, big fighting game made by Bandai Namco, I believe it is, that makes them. And they obviously had the characters Heihachi against a guy called Asuma, who looks like a devil version of a previous character. I believe it looks like Jinpachi from Tekken 5, but he's more human form, but still looks like the devil. Pretty scary guy, but it was fantastic to see the physics. The physics are still a bit iffy, but if anything, the graphics are top notch. But then again, what do you expect? they're releasing this on Xbox One, not Xbox 360 this time, so it is to be expected that all the characters from the last few games are in it. We've obviously got this Asuma guy that we have to defeat throughout story mode, I presume so anyway, but it looks very, very fascinating and I cannot wait. Next game we mention is Final Fantasy 15. Now, every guy who owned a PlayStation when they were younger loved Final Fantasy. I didn't really play Final Fantasy when I was younger. I was not into that sort of game. I'm still not into it now, but I know a lot of people love Final Fantasy. So to get Final Fantasy 15 finally on the Xbox One is an accomplishment in amongst itself, and hats off to, I believe, is it Square Enix or Sony? It won't be Sony because it won't make it for Microsoft, but the hats off to the developer for Final Fantasy for doing such a fantastic job. The game itself, during the demo, they showed off a Titan being attacked by the character, but there wasn't just one. They had to hold the Titan off, like fend off the attacks from the big Titan thing, before the backup arrived, and then they managed to take its arm off, and then the demo ended from there. So. But from what I've seen, the graphics visually do look amazing. Now, as much as I'm blowing it out of proportion by saying every game so far I've seen looks amazing, it just does. I don't know why. They've obviously stepped up the graphics game on all the games now, so it looks pretty damn awesome. Not gonna lie. Xbox finally finished off with two other games, which I will quickly mention. There was Scalebound, which was a world exclusive look at the game, including. Where they're all fighting a massive dragon thing. There was 4 of them all fighting it, which was brilliant. Definitely have a watch if you haven't seen it already. If you can, just have a look. E3 gameplay for Scalebound, if that's your sort of thing. That's obviously dragons and everything like that. And the last game I mentioned was an indie title. I believe it's coming out in a few weeks or in early access. It's called We Happy Few, and the game is set in the 1960s, and you play as a character who has to take basically the world in the You're in the 1960s in New York, and everyone's taking these happy pills, so drugs. But what it is that everyone who's seen as someone who's down or depressive or something like that will be killed on sight. And apparently during the demo that we saw, it starts off as though this guy's happy. He's like, yeah, doing his job, scrolling through all newspapers. And then he sees a newspaper article that he remembers, and there was all deaths going on that day, and he decides not to take his I think this was the control, but decided not to take his happy pills. So what had ended up happening was he ends up whacking like a piñata further down the line. Like I said, to watch the full thing, just go online, have a look for it. It's called We Happy Few, and then obviously E3 at the end, and obviously you'll find it. But yeah, the game looks phenomenal, and personally, I think I'm actually going to give it a shot, because it looks similar it feels like BioShock mixed with the 1960s, which I believe that's when BioShock Infinite was set. But it feels very similar to BioShock Infinite, and it looks really good. So some of the game mechanics are fantastic. That's to mention that. But yeah. That about wraps it up. I apologise for the video being so long, but yeah, I've tried to keep everything down to a minimum without rambling on too much. And yeah, until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure to hit the like button, and be sure to comment which game you're looking forward to in next coming few months, next year. Down in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, I've been Viper Racing. You guys have been awesome watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ta-ra!